recovery, pain, and eventually lead 30 men into the most dangerous situation. And as you see, another important part of the unit in Star calling the Astarad, market Israel. It's very important. Not everybody understand what Israel is doing to the world and is the involvement in national rescue and humanitarian help. In October 2018, you probably know right away all of them. The unit rescued 18 Jordanian kids who got stuck in the bus in Flashback in the Dead Sea. In July 2018, the unit advanced to the remember team of kids got stuck in Thailand. How to rescue those kids. In 2016, we brought back home the casualties and wounded the Israelis from terror in Istanbul. In 2015, there was the earthquake in Nepal, followed with the Marmara Turkish ship, and more and more. And today, just to understand, we have the fire department, so Saka and everything, but 669 is the last line for the IDF, what Israel can offer. And 669 today is basically the National Rescue Service of Israel. I had, by the way, an option. We need to progress in Bulgaria in 2012. It was while I was serving an officer. There was a terror attack in 2 buses, if you remember. We brought back home 33 wounded Israelis in Hercules surveys. Just imagine the feeling of bringing them back to the families, and either as part of the Israeli delegation in the back home site. So I want to share with you what was my reason, what drove me to establish the 669 Alumni Association. Thank you, why I want to share with you a few moments from actually my first rescue as an officer, as a commander. It was in Shabbat, in situation, where the meal, the Shabbat dinner. Now you need to cook your own meal, not part of the base, kind of thing. And suddenly the siren went off. Of course, that even that we had that long week behind us, we didn't have any chance to eat or shower. And we got the report, got a call, and we ran to the helicopter, begin transforming it into a mobile emergency room, prepare the equipment, and all of that. The initial report we received were 5 severely wounded soldiers who got attacked by Hamas terrorists on the Gaza border. And on the way there, consulting with the doctor, with the commander, so with the other sources of the team, how we can do it. There was another helicopter that came from another base from another part of Israel. Some of you are familiar with that. Our home base, by the way, is not that far from each other. And so we right there, the helicopters. I was the commander on the ship. Divided the 2 helicopters. The soldiers in the 2 helicopters. They took 2 so medics in the aviation. Throughout the flight, we gave them the first whatever we can do, the procedures we can do during the flight. Most important thing, the most important thing is to bring them as fast as we can to the ER. So we landed in Beersheba, in Soroka. While we landed, we saw the faces, people outside of the windows, full windows, full of people looking, staring at us, wondering what had happened. Because as you can imagine, 2 army helicopters landing in the middle of the Shabbat. Downloaded the victims and transferred to the ER. Back to base, but we don't have to plan, take off. We saw those same places now, we're cheering, waiting, because we had the opportunity to take this focus life. And suddenly the sweat and tears instead start months of training really worth it. And then I felt that my decision was to back. I had the privilege to stay honest people all the every day of my life, even I finished my active service at the unit. Saving lives was our mission in the unit. And relevant patient stay with us. And stay with us, not only me, my friends, my team members. And according to this moralic improvement service, I decided to want to establish a association, basically keep the good work of the unit and bring our civilian life. So the organization basically we're trying to work with them. 66 Alumni Association was founded with the same principle of private units, which is healthy values, addressing social responsibility, and contributing to the public good in order not only to benefit to our own community, but also to the Israeli community overall. Try to empower future leaders, the alumni, take action, participate in social impact in the Israeli society. So I want to give you some examples of the major three and the most important areas that we work based on. The first one is we support existing soldiers in the unit itself. We have their own soldiers, we have the soldiers with financial aid, help them soldiers are approaching discharge with their guidance and assistance. Just want to say that people exposed to emotions that are not normal, never educated to anyone you saw. Yes, it's 9 and you're always getting into a crisis scenario when you get a call. By the way, another problem that maybe some are familiar with this discussion in Israel, but today our technical needs are in a rise, 81, and then people start saying, I'll send my kids to medical units that they will use the service and have a practical job for life. And the question is how we can still bring people to serve in combat units, but at the end, the idea is to need the human resource. So, with these kind of things, we have people to understand that we will support them as the transition to civilian life. The second area is the guiding and empowering the unit reserve soldiers. Served a lot of reserve years. So we have a package covered them during their reserve soldiers. If it's with academic scholarships or mentoring programs, membership workshops, and as well, one of the disadvantage of serving in 69 is that the PTSD workshops help them get treatment and cope with military experience in their everyday life. And the third party, and very important, is the pay forward basis to the Israeli society. Every 669 alumni participate in one of those projects. Scholarship, he gets various workshops or whatever. He has to participate in one of the social impact projects. And that way, when people support us, they support the third party as well. We help them to just a few examples about that. Like last May, the last operation, we did actually followed that from Sderot, from the cities around the Gaza Strip. We created a first aid emergency kit and teach the families around live around that, how to manage crisis scenario, how to teach, how to give the family first basic treatment because in time of war or something like that, we won't have enough ambulances or people to go and help everyone. So we're trying to pay forward our skill sets. Just to October 18th, we went to New York. It's not that bad after that in San Diego and New Jersey. And people started asking, what about us? What about teaching us the Jewish different in the US? Come in and instruct us how to save lives. And actually, we planned everything. We created syllables in English, of course. But then, COVID hit, we had to pause it. Stop it. So we'll come back and do it. And I want to give you another story that happened 3 months ago. This is Eyal Gershi. He's serving an officer. He already not in executive, but a doctor in Unit 669 before the military service. Today, by the way, is from Ashkelon, 27. His family is married with 7 kids. And you can accept the training that brings you as a doctor to the unit. Unfortunately, his family had into a car accident, really bad car accident. They went to visit the grandmother immediately. She was on the stay at home. His sister and brother died on the spot. And other brother died a few days after that. And he had to give up on his dream and stay with his mother and his sister. And he got accepted to a different unit. And he studied how to be a medic and then a paramedic. And then at the end, he got accepted to the unit and served as deputy commander of the medical department. And again, because he's excellent in everything he's doing, he got accepted, served really well, community service. Instead, I don't want to give up on my dream. I want to be a doctor. And after many tests, in Israel, when you're too old, 37, it's sometimes difficult to get accepted to long training in one of the universities. So we got accepted to Poland, to medical university. And he calls us, the organization, around January, if I'm not wrong, saying, look, I'm going to study abroad. If you can help me, this is my story. I have to say that I wasn't familiar with the story while I was serving. And we said, okay, let's try to find help. So we worked on that around 5 months. And at the end, we managed to give him this year $11,000 scholarship, which is quite needs to leave. He has 7 kids, he works in 3 different jobs. And when I got the news from the donor that we managed to bring the scholarship, he said, but it's not sure, so don't tell me yet. But I knew that this is a very important thing for his life. I had to tell him something, so I texted him, look, young, I'm careful about what I'm saying, but we might find a solution for this year. And he texted me back. But again, I put back goosebumps again. He says, doesn't matter how much money you give me, or if you give me, but if let's the organization try, and this is probably a symbolic sign. But today is the annual day of the accident when my sister and father died. So this kind of things happening, and we know that things you do are very important to many people in faith. I want to thank you for listening about our unit, our organization, a little bit. We have tremendous support from all the progress during the years, and we are very grateful for that. We always look to grow and make a greater impact on the Israeli society, usually Israeli communities abroad, and to our alumni. And someone asked me at the beginning, I said it, I've answered it in my talk, why the number is 669. So there are a few reasons. One of them is maybe some know, but how many times you want to use an increase in the Bible? 669. So
it's a good reason.
669 times. If it's a coincidence or not, again, it's part of the story.
Is that dog?
And in Tehillim, Psalm 81, verse 8, the motto says, "You're the excuse you called, and I rescue you." So no matter where, no matter how, no matter when, one of the units in the organization to rescue anyone. And I want them to say thank you. I want to invite Shalem second. Friend of mine from the unit, maybe one of the strongest men I know. So, thank you, guys.
So, hello everyone. Thank you, Bob, for my introduction. Thank you guys for being here today. All right, so I want to start with telling you guys about myself. I'm 25 years old. I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. Son of early in Yerushalayim. I would say the majority of my family lives here in the States, but throughout my lifetime, I would visit Israel twice, once a year. And each time I step foot in Ben Gurion Airport, in Medinet Israel, I just get these goosebumps. I mean, it's this feeling you get when you land in Israel. You just feel like you're in the place you're supposed to be. You feel at home. I don't feel it when I visit Mexico or I don't know, Cambodia or anywhere I visit. It's like this unique feeling that I only feel in Medinet Israel, and I felt it my entire life. I knew that Israel is pretty much the place I want to live and spend my future. Taking it back a bit, I attended a Chizik Emunah Middle School, Petah High School. Both are Jewish day schools. And as part of your studies, you're required to complete community service hours. So at first I was participating in JNF phone-a-thons, kind of like calling people, asking if they donate money to JNF. I was playing bingo at nursing homes, senior centers. Not to take away, everything is meaningful, but I wanted to take a step further. I was going to already volunteer. I wanted to do my 100%. I wanted to do something, large impact on my community. So along with a friend of mine, Zachary, we co-founded a tutoring program in Baltimore City called the Tutoring Outreach Program. We would go to Old Biblical Elementary, me and a few other students from Bethel High School. We just give these students our attention and time, teach them math, science. Many of these students, they come to school, pick up clothes, they come in by foot, they leave by foot. We definitely made an impact on the students' lives. I believe the program runs still today. I'm no longer affiliated. Additionally, I joined the fire station, Chestnut Ridge. I was an EMT for 2 years. And that's when I first dipped my toes into the emergency medical field. And essentially, when I finished high school, I realized this is the time to decide whether or not I want to deviate from the norm, move to Israel and draft, or if I want to be like everyone else in my community, the majority of my community, which continues on to university, gets a job, starts a family, etc. So I decided that I'd like to deviate. I decided to be different. I decided to take my passion for volunteering and my passion for Israel, just combine the two, move to Israel and draft. So when I arrived to Israel, I joined via a program called Garin Sabar. We were 18 lone soldiers living in the north, the northwestern most tip in Israel, in a kibbutz called Kibbutz Chanita. Pretty much go as top left as you can. Israel, a little bit east. I mean, my backyard was Lebanon. Seriously, my window, I could see Lebanon. All right, so upon arrival, I joined Green Savar, as I said, and I went through a series of tryouts, physical evaluations, mental, psychological, tons of evaluations, and I landed in 669 Air Force Unit. It's a huge privilege that an American, I was the only American there at the time. An Israeli's dream to be there, and I was there. Throughout our service, we would get out on Friday evenings and we'd come back Saturday night. Meaning I had from Friday evening to get home all the way up north, and then I have to come back to base Saturday night. So I pretty much leave base, get up north, high five my friends, do my laundry, eat a nice Shabbat dinner, and then I'd come back to base the following day. I didn't receive any special attention as a lone soldier, given that it's a special unit and the soldiers there are more or less treated equally. I was definitely, it was an immense struggle to go through my training as a lone soldier. I did receive some benefits here and there, but for the most part, I was treated just like everyone else, which is also how I wanted to be treated. I didn't want to seem different. I didn't want to seem privileged. I wanted to be just like my friends and my teammates. In this photo, actually, you can see these are some American soldiers. There's the American 669 unit, as well as another unit which we work with. These are some guys I worked with. This is me right here. All right, so as Bob already went over, you guys heard about all the cool physical things that we do. We do walk, we train with hoist rescue in the ocean, the heart of sea. We do some rope work. Here's us during the training, as you can see, taking some stretchers, learning some rope work. Here's me on the right. This is jumping into the heart of sea from the helicopter. Pretty scary. But with all these physical abilities that you attain, I have to let you guys know that the real gain you receive from your service, besides the family and friendships you make, are the intangibles you receive. For example, you work as a team. You learn to work as a team. You learn to give and receive criticism. You learn to stick to a task no matter how hard it is and give your 100% from the beginning until the end. But in my opinion, the greatest intangible I gained from my entire service would be the ability to know everything is possible. Now, what do I mean? Many people will tell you that I believe everything is achievable, I believe everything is possible. But a 669 unit veteran, they'll tell you, I know everything is possible. Why? Because throughout your service, you receive tasks from your commander, where you look at your commander in the face, and all that's going through your head is, there's no way that what he's asking me to do is achievable. It's like I'm telling you guys right now, everybody, I want you to tie your forearm in a knot. Look at me like I'm crazy, right? Impossible, there's no way. But then what ends up happening is that you end up succeeding in the task he assigned you. And that happens over and over again for a year and a half. Every single day, a new task. Until you look back at what he assigned you a year ago and you tell yourself, I can't believe that I thought that was impossible. Today, that's nothing for me. And so this kind of builds up throughout your service. And you're true to, and you're spit out into the civilian world with this trait that's going to guide you for the rest of your life. If you have an assignment to complete in school, at work, doesn't matter what, you know that you're capable of doing it. Just a matter of setting your mind to it. So most people believe they know it's possible, but 669 unit veteran knows it's possible. When I completed my service, obviously I became a civilian. I went from this very structured and regimented life where I had 4 meals a day and I had to wake up early and had a schedule from morning until nighttime, to being a civilian and life is very free to do whatever I want. The transition is very abrupt. It's very confusing. And the 669 unit doesn't really we don't really have much assistance. Now, Bob, thankfully for Barnes program, they provide a workshop, which it's a 3-day workshop. They kind of teach you how to deal with taxes, insurance, arnona, gas, electric, and all the realities of reality. Everything you have to deal with as a civilian. I was offered to attend the 3-day workshop at the end of my service. At the end of my service, I had one of the most interesting assignments. that I was given throughout all my time in the military. And I approached some unit veterans and I told them, listen, I have this school assignment, this cooperation, this commission to go on. Well, what should I do? Should I cancel it and attend the workshop? Or should I attend the assignment? About 10 out of 11 of them, I asked a whole lot. They all recommended that I drop the assignment and I attend the workshop. Very thankful that I did. I mean it that I'm thankful that I did. I learned skills there that assisted me in after my service. I lived in Israel for a year. Throughout that entire year, the lessons I learned in those 3 days, I would have had to learn everything the hard way. I would have had to learn how to do my arnona the hard way, my bills the hard way. Just a bunch of invaluable lessons that I gained from the workshop. I want to show you guys a little bit more photos. Talk about some of them. My friends. We have a week-long survival week in 669. You trek from southern Israel, trekking at night, hiding during the daytime, all the way up to northern Israel. You walk roughly 20, 25 miles a night, and this is the infamous photo at the end. We have no food during this week. We're all very skinny and yeah, very emaciated, very tired, very hungry. And that's it. This is the end of my service. This is the exact photo of where we finished our entire year and a half of training. It was at a very anticlimactic at a gas station. Why? Because the day we finished our service, there was an enormous rescue from a flash flood of students that were traveling in Israel. Maybe you guys heard about the story. It's Safit. Safit River. Nahal Safit. Huge tragedy to Israel, and our entire unit. Our unit's not the largest. We're roughly 60 active soldiers during good time. Entire unit was sent out, tons of helicopters, and this is exactly where we finished our training. We weren't lucky to have all the unit wait for us and welcome us, but that's what can you do? That's about all that I have to share. If you guys have any, I have many stories. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. If you guys have any lone soldier family, friends, anyone that you know that's a lone soldier in Israel that's in need of assistance, I have a lot of connections. I was on the board of Herzliya's municipality, literally it's the Department for Lone Soldiers. I was in touch with very high officials in the IDF, assisted me, a bunch of friends who are also lone soldiers. So don't hesitate to grab my number. I want to thank you guys for your support, because thanks to you guys, we can conquer our post-service confusion. We can thrive as civilians. I want to welcome Asa. Words cannot do justice to his story. Only he can. I mean, his story is absolutely mesmerizing. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Continue to enjoy.
היה ספורטאי מחונן שרירי, מאמן נערים לגיוס, אדם נערץ בכושר שיא. עד שבמהלך אימון שגרתי שהעביר אי שם על איזו דיונה, הוא התחשמל מקו מתח גבוה שעבר שם, הוא הובהל במצב קריטי לבית החולים, קריאות קשות ב-70% מחלקי גופו, הוא היה קרוב מאוד להיות אדם מת. אבל אז משהו קרה שם. יעל אודם הלכה לפגוש אדם שיגרום לכם לחשוב שוב על החיים שלכם. השלב הכי קשה בשבילי זה היה לראות אותו באמבולנס, איך הוא מוריד את הידיים, וכאילו כבר לא היה איתנו. כן, ובשלב הזה של הביטור, זה כמו שמישהו לא יודע מהשמיים, לחת ההליקופטר, והמלאכים נפלו ירדו.
המלאכים של יואב היו הלוחמים מיחידת החילוץ 669 של חיל האוויר, אותה היחידה שבה שירת. בשלב הזה יואב לא זיהה שמדובר בחבר'ה שלו, אפילו לא זיהה את גיא, החניך שלו, שהתגייס בעקבותיו לאותה יחידה.
ראיתי חצי גוף חרוך, ואז ראיתי את טס הגדול. שאלתי אותו, יואב בפנים? הוא אמר לי שכן. אז הבנתי שזה לא הולך להיות פשוט. הגענו להרבה תרחישים במסלול ההכשרה שלנו ביחידה, אבל קשה להכין. מאוד שמח
הפעם הראשונה שיואב הגיב לי, זה היה כששרתי לו שיר ששנינו מאוד אוהבים. ואז הוא התחיל לפקוח את העיניים, ואני סימנתי לחוט. הוא פוקח עיניים, אז הבנתי שהוא שומע אותנו.
מאוד, מסתובב, עוד, כל הכבוד, עוד, ושפרי את היד שלי, תחזיק בכיסא. יושב. אני רואה שהן סופרות, ואני אומר לאבא שלי כאילו, רגע, זה באמת קרה? כאילו, מה קורה איתי עכשיו? נעלמו לי החיים.
חודש התנדנד בין חיים למוות כשהמשפחה נמצאת שם כל הזמן, מתעדת כל רגע. חושב.
היה לילה אחד שלא כמעט קיבלת בו. אז מתאימים יצא את הכיבר, יש לי כבר.
רגע, הייתי מושם? כמה זמן הייתי מושם? הייתי מורדם, ואז התחיל לתלות מאוד נהנה. שהוא הבין את חומרת הפציעה שהוא עבר, הוא הצליח להפעיל ממנו. הוא ביקש ממנו ככה, אדר, רק תחזירי לי את היד, ותגידי לי שאני אהיה בסדר. תגידי לי שאני אשב ואני אלך ואני ארוץ, שאני אהיה בסדר.
Hi, good evening. I'm Bob, and one way next to the unit, and I haven't seen this video in a while, and I'm still kind of excited. And thank you for being here. That'll be the first opening line. Second will be. Today I'm 42 years old, I'm married to more, and this is my son, he's 5 years old now, Omer, and I want to share with you a story today, a story I didn't think I would ever share. Being a unit alumni, and I've done about 3 dozen of evacuations and rescues during my service. You're never thinking that you'll be on the other side. And you treat people like they're a procedure to be done. And I want to try today and to explain the difference between being a rescue and a rescuee and how it feels. I don't know if I'll manage to do it, but I hope you'll be patient with me and see how it goes. About 10 years ago, I was doing including training. I trained kids for their military service, especially for the elite units of the IDF. This is what I do in the past 20 years. During one of those workouts, we take them to this sand dune. Israeli water source company just dug a new well, and they took the sand and they put it on the side, and you can see the sand dune that was created. And we thought, well, that would be a good place to train for the military service. It's hard to train there, let's do it. Friends of mine went there with their motorcycles. Some of my friends went there with their kids. I don't know, with the way we are, we said, let's do a training. And we went and we trained there for about 40 minutes. All the kids you see in the picture are about 18, 7 years old, before their military service. And there's something special about Israel, and especially in these kind of people. See people in high school, their ambition is to be the best they can. I think this ambition exists in all of us, especially when you're young. You still want to explore, you want to expand, and you want to be the best. Like in the past few years, I see a change starting. We're starting to depress the kids. We're starting to put fear into them, get into the structure. But that's for another time. Let's focus on the story. So we're doing this workout for about 40 minutes. After about 40 minutes, the kids goes down, they think the workout is over. I know that I'm planning another section to the training for them. I go down, I take off my sunglasses, and then I realize, when I take off my sunglasses, I realize this power line about half a meter away from my hand. I think, well, this is dangerous, so you shouldn't be here. And then my second thought goes to, wait, birds are sitting on power lines, they don't get electrocuted. Maybe it's not that dangerous. And at the minute, the power jumps from the power line to my hand like lightning, and it actually makes me explode from the inside out. There's a big difference between a regular burn and an electrical burn. In a regular burn, it's the outside. But it's electricity, it goes inside, sometimes cooks some of the organs, and in my case, the energy bursts out in the way of fire. So the kids saw me rolling down the sand dune. They said it looked like you throw a burning tire at them. First, our mind is used to thinking patterns, and to see someone getting burned doesn't fit the pattern, especially when there's no fire around. So they see this picture and they get me in the bottom of the sand dune, my head stuck in the sand, my arms on the side of my body, not moving. That's it. So there was this amazing group of people, these teenagers, turned me on my back. They saw I have fluid coming from my mouth, my ears, my eyes, everywhere. They managed to open my jaw. They had to open it forcefully and then started CPRing me. Then I came back to life and I started saying, my legs are killing me. They did all they could. And one point of time, they went running, calling for help. One of them called the Magen David Adom, medical services, and a group of people went running for a nearby base. In this space, the special commander changed his position only a week before he started his position there. Previous position, he was in charge of calling out helicopters. And that's one of the major things that saved my life. Because he immediately called the Air Force and said, send the chopper. And the chopper, us. So you can see this is what was left from my clothes. And the first fire came from the inside. So you can imagine what it does to the body. You might even be able to see the bubbles of the plastic, the sunglasses. So you can imagine the heat coming out. So the kids are there, they're CPRing me, they're doing the best they can. And then one of the kids getting a call from the helicopter. It was about 5 minutes after Magen David Adom tried to intubate me on the third time. What happened was, because the pain was so immense, the sedation didn't work and they couldn't bring me down. They had to tie me to the bed. I was still resisting, and the throat was starting to swollen and air was slowly moving inside. So it wasn't good. And then this kid is getting a call from the helicopter, one of the commanders going, hey, help us to land. We need to find a way to this guy. And they clear the road, they land, and then something changes. I remember this, I'm sure you remember, when we get to a scene, everything changes. You can see the scene is chaotic. People don't know what to do, they're lost. And then we arrive, especially with the special doctors we have in the unit, and something just turns chill. It's like a controlled atmosphere. And then the doctor comes in, managed to intubate me, and they put me on the helicopter. You saw the black and white picture, that's from the actual event. And they put me on the chopper and say, okay, let's take him to the hospital. On the first minute of flight, my pulse is gone. I lost pulse, and they had to resuscitate me. So they land in the nearest hospital. They insert adrenaline to my vein. They managed to bring back the pulse. And now they're waiting for the helicopter to open, for the hospital to open the gate for the helicopter. I don't know where this luck came from, but these guys in the hospital didn't find the key for the gate. We laugh about it today, but there was one of the good things in the story. But they ended up saying, okay, we're not leaving him in this hospital. Let's say you go that one. And then we went to Sheba, Tel Shomer Hospital, which is the best in the Middle East for treating burns. If I would have ended up in any other hospital than this, I don't know about great discipline, it wasn't me. So that's the story. Let's say this is part A of the story. The second part of the story is the part that as people in 69 we don't normally meet. It's what happens after. What happens once we drop the guy in the hospital? And this starts, there might be a few hard pictures. I chose to leave my father words before we go to the second part. My father is a tough guy. You see him with a mustache, and he was a Assad in the army, strong guy. And he's saying like, I didn't see soldiers coming down. So like angels of light. And that's not typical to my father. My sister name is Ut, and it's not because it's the code name, the radio. So you might see some hard pictures. If it's too hard, just raise your hand and I'll switch it. Is that okay? Can I ask that from you? Basically, in this point, 70% of my body is burned. A lot of my meat, my flesh turned into cooked meat because of the heat. You know, when you put the chicken breast and it turns white and hard, you cannot reverse the procedure, right? Same with the human body when you encounter heat. So I get to this hospital, the scenario is he's not going to make it. The optimistic scenario is, well, we'll have to cut off both his legs. And we'll have to transplant 60% of his body with skin grafts. You know what a skin graft is? You take a piece of skin, like a healthy skin, you stretch it, you clean the area, you try to get it to stick. So this is the optimistic scenario. And you can see now I'm intubated. I have 2 holes in my body, 7 to be exact, which tells you something about the woman's body is way more efficient than a hospital. 1 tube does everything. The umbilical cord, 1. Here I'm connected to 7. So that's okay. We'll stay with this one. The pictures you saw in the beginning was, let's say, the first few weeks. And after 12 days, I woke up. My mother sent me a song. I opened my eyes. They didn't expect it to happen so soon, but it happened. And then like weird days happen. I was sometimes awake for 2 seconds, sometimes half a minute, sometimes a few minutes, and the memory is all mixed during this time. But this is the day I actually woke up. It's about a month from the accident, almost 4 weeks. And they came to me that morning and they said, okay, we're going to talk to him in his language. I'm a trainer, so they're going to be like, okay, today you're going to have a workout. Really? I can work out. Now let's give you the background. I can lift my right arm up here. I can move my pinky and my thumb just a little bit, and both of my legs are nothing. I can lift my left arm And then they go, and we're gonna have a workout. Okay, cool, I'm excited. Bring it on. Then they bring us something to the room. They roll my body to the side. They put a sheet, like a green sheet behind my back. They connect it to the screen that they brought in. They lift me with a crane. They put me on this chair and they're telling me, your training today is to sit for 40 minutes. What? How is sitting a training? And why is it harder than any other training I ever done in my life? The pain was immense. For a month, I was laying like this. There's no skin in my legs. Now my legs are going down. All the blood rushes down. It gets swollen, torn apart. It was crazy. But the craziest part wasn't the pain. Was the realization that I'm not me anymore. What I thought I was is gone. I was strong, I was fit. I remember a week before that, I ran 1 kilometer for 3 minutes and 4 seconds. That was my time. And now, my perception of self and my perception of reality, it's got a big gap between it. We all know these gaps, maybe not that big, but we all have a perception of self. We know, for example, how much we're supposed to be weighing. I'm supposed to be weighing, let's say, 160. I go on the scale and I'm 170. I feel discomfort. Can you relate to what I'm saying? And then, what do I do while I feel this frustration? I think we have like a rubber effect. We have this thing that's supposed to bring us back to our perception of self. If I think I'm supposed to be 170 and I'm at 160 and I see I'm 170, now I feel discomfort. And I have 3 options left. 1, okay, let's bring myself back where I'm supposed to be. 2nd, let's adapt. Let's, you know what, 170 is, I'm over 40, I can have a beer belly. And the 3rd option, which is the one I first took, and we normally take this one, is crying, whining. And the worst kind of crying and whining is crying and whining with an axe. Basically blaming. I started blaming. I blamed people work, I blamed the government, I blamed people and their mediocrity and my project that mediocrity and blah, blah, blah. But there's something in the training that I've been through, and there's something about the habits that we developed during our life that whining doesn't suit us. I couldn't stand it. And I kind of realized it and I said to my mother, okay, you deal with the lawyers and shit, sorry. And I'll focus on healing. But can I give you something? Can I try to teach something? What happens when we blame someone? When you feel this frustration, and the minute you find an address to it, the frustration drops. Try to remember when you felt frustration and then you blame someone. It's because of him. And then you feel relief for a minute, then the frustration goes back up. And then you blame again, and it drops and goes back up. You see it? And let's compare it to something else. If I eat sugar or chocolate, the minute I eat chocolate, my sugar level goes up and then down, even a little bit lower than what it was before. And then do I need to eat the same amount of sugar or more to get the same weight? More. And then it drops again, even lower than what it was before. This is the path of addiction. This is the path of being a victim. The other path is the path of freedom. And that goes a little bit differently. This is the path of responsibility. Responsibility is a great word in English. It's even better than in Hebrew. One of the few words that is better in English than in Hebrew. It tells you what it is. The ability to respond. When you assume responsibility on something, it's so different. It's like having a full meal. After a full meal, you're sugar level drops a little, and then it starts rising up. It's the same with assuming responsibility. First, you feel the burden, the responsibility, but then you get control and you get more freedom. That what happened. Luckily, next to the habit we developed, I said, okay, Father, you deal with all this blaming and stuff. I'm not dealing with this. If they tell me, put your leg in the machine for half an hour a day, I do an hour and a half. If they tell me, okay, you have to work on your range of motion, my skin here was melted and my hand got stuck, I will tear it every day, 3 times a day, and tie my hand to the back of my head, so the range of motion will open. This is assuming responsibility. Doesn't feel good, but it will free you in the long run. Can you relate to this? Perfect. And I think it's, I might share a few words and then we'll stay. This method really worked. And after a month and a half, instead of 7 months of operations and fixing and stuff, I ended up in this situation. These are 2 people that served with me in the unit. The one on your left is Gid. He was the commander of Eric and me when we were soldiers there. Eric is an American. He was still lives in Vegas. Last few years. And in the age of 32, he got divorced in Vegas. He didn't only rational thing, right? What do you do when you get divorced? You go to Israel and you join the idea, right? So this is what it did, and we ended up serving for a few months together, and then he got back to the States and started working with the Edinson. This is the day he said, okay, I can leave you. The doctor came to me that morning and told me, Yoav, you only have 3% open left. What does it mean? I used to have 70% open, which means I had 70% no skin. Now there's only 3%. You're going to be moving to the rehabilitation center. So Eric, he flew in when he heard I was in the hospital. He flew into Israel and said, I'm staying with you. This is the way the unit works. It's a camaraderie thing. I cannot really explain. We support each other. This is the reason why Bar initially brought this alumni association thing. We were alone. You do the service, and then, okay, you're done. Nobody treats you anymore. Well, you still do a reserve service, okay? But as a civilian, nobody take notice of all the things you experience, all the hard things that you've seen. And that's my way of thanking this alumni association. The reason I'm here today, while my business is running in Israel, I have a lot of stuff to do because we need people to do this thing for us. It's not an easy service, you need a transition. So Eric flies back to the States, lives here, and what happens after I'm only 3% open left? She sits in. My legs get open. I won't stay with those pictures, they're a bit harder. But basically what happens is I get reopened, and from 3%, the next day I'm 25%, the next day I'm 30%. And if you feel happiness when you feel progress, you feel the exact opposite, but 7 times worse when you go back. Losing something is more painful, treats 7 times more than gaining something. So I'm depressed. I'm at the worst point in my life. I want to let go. Friends from the unit still come by. People come by to the hospital, and I try to smile. But inside, I know I don't want to. I want this life. And after a few days, I tell my father, the next chance you got, if I get reconnected to the machines, I don't want. I remember this morning when I'm crying, with my right arm in my left leg. So one of those days in the video when I'm sitting and the nurse is pushing me back to the room. And I want to let go. And then I get this call. This guy on the left, this my father's uncle. See him on the right getting a medal of honor from the field. It's an amazing guy. He used to be an amazing guy. So this, when I was in the hospital, I was already 86 years old. Already had heart problems. His name is Samuel Fayed. There's a lot of stories to tell about Samuel Fayed, but because of time, we'll talk about it later. And because he was already with heart problems, everybody in the family knew that we're not going to tell Sami that Yoav is in the hospital. He was my role model. In a way, I think I'm doing what he used to do. And I get this call in the morning when I'm crying, and they're telling me, Yoav, Sami found out. What? No, we cannot find out. Yeah, he found out. You know who he is. He's on his way. What? How much time do I have? He's in the elevator. So you do the shift we do, and you go from a 0 to 100, and you clean the tears. And the minute he goes into the room, I grab the handles of the bed and I do dips like nothing happened. Hey, something else. Yoav, what have they done to you? Don't worry about it. Yoav, what have they done to you? Tony, it's nothing. It's just cosmetics. Yoav, I had soldiers with burns. I know what it's burning. No. And in the end, I'm going like, I really said this stupid phrase. I'm sorry. It's like, some scar tissue is sexy. Some women think that. I don't know why, but he managed to believe me, and he left the room. Once he left, I was first relieved, and I told myself, hey, I can drop this mask off and cry again. I wanted to cry, but I didn't need to cry anymore. Why is it that a minute before, I wanted to let go? And when Sami walks in, everything changes. You remember the motto of a unit? In this stress you call and I rescue you? There's something about it. Not this in those crazy. We all have this thing. Once we have a chance to help someone else, we discover our true power. Something came in. I had to help Sami. It wasn't all about me. This new mantra, suffering, song that we developed in this Western world. It's about us, him. Focusing on Sami brought me back to the realization that this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be giving, not taking. The real power comes from helping someone else. And this is where you get your true identity. That focus help go back to the rehabilitation center and process, the rehabilitation process. I healed really fast. And a month later, I was out of the burn unit, went into the rehabilitation center, started working on my range of motion and all the other stuff. Less than a year later, I was standing in the kotel after we did a relay run from around the Hobo on our base to the kotel. We did this for soldiers and for people training for the military service. When I was there, in those days of crying, I couldn't imagine what would happen with my life. I couldn't imagine what we would achieve together. And for me, it's a chance to say, remember our purpose in life. Not just me. You get to identify yourself when you help someone. This is why I was so proud to serve in the unit. Why I'm here now. Those people. little bit longer than planned, but it was on fire, so I don't want to stop it. If you have some questions, one of us, feel free. Just before that, I just want to say that if you want to hear more stories of our alumni, we started a new project. So our alumni stories, they called the created a podcast, called it Podcast, that's stories about the flying cats. So you can find it on Spotify if you want. That's it.
Okay.
Really thank you guys. It was amazing, amazing story. Wishing you, this is the first night for them in United States. So you are excellent and PR for Israel and what can I tell you? Kol hakavod.
Any questions or anything? Yes. There are not combat soldiers, I mean, not combat women, but combat paramedics, doctors, pilots, everything, but not yet. Mostly, by the way, the logistics issue.
The question more for you, but
you get a lot of sedation, so most of it is gone. But there was flashes of light, some of it, but most of it was. I think it was an hallucination thing, and some things that penetrates from the outside. I was out for 12 days. Beginning, I remember I felt like a dot, then a line, and a sponge. That was a reoccurring thing. Like a year after, 2 years after, there were still voices coming back. You know, so like I go to my mother saying, "Did you say this and that?" She goes, "Yeah." And my father, "Did you place your hand here?" He goes, "Yeah." So it was. Maybe it's a good time to say, if you have someone in the home and he doesn't feel, they feel, I feel. So talk to them, touch them. Yeah, I mean, we all need touch, especially in these days when they keep us all apart and turning us into robots, mask on, computer communication, touch, talk.
a colleague from Baltimore,
Yes.
you described an amazing childhood. What do you do now that
Now, probably wondering what am I doing in America, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't touch on that. After my service, I spent 5 years in Medinet Israel in Israel, and I thought to myself, you know what, Israel's here to stay forever, but the memories I'm going to spend with my family, they're not going to last forever. So I decided to come back to the States. Currently, spend time with my family, and I'm studying at Towson University right now, working towards a computer science degree. And my current plan is to finish in 2 years. That's how I laid it all out. I'm actually in the first series of midterms right now, so it's chaos. But you know, I managed to juggle it, give 100%. The same way in 669. Just trudging through, do my best. And as soon as I finish, I get that ball in my hand. Hopefully, in the other hand, will be a when we take it back to. I mean, I would say everyone is nervous in their training, especially in the beginning. You're entering a new unknown. But the way 669's year and a half of training is structured is that they teach you to operate on autopilot. Like, okay, the siren, you hear a siren in the unit, you run to the helicopter, you go on a rescue mission. As soon as you don't really take your helmet off in the hospital, kind of just look like once you take your helmet off,
look around, you're like, wow, I brought these people here. I can't believe everything just happened. It's pure autopilot. So I would say, yeah, I was definitely nervous, but at some point, slowly become sort of like a robot. In fact, and maybe it's a coping mechanism with the struggle they put you through. Go through some difficulties. It's literally impossible to put into words during the training period. You literally just feel like a robot at something. Like,
So, first of all, yes, major part of the training. First of all, we don't know anything about the training course. For 1.5 years, you don't expose. You can't test about what's going to happen in the next few hours. You have no schedule. And you have no idea what's going to happen in the next minute. And so this is one thing. And you need the quality speed 7. And usually we come back from very, let's say, unique rescues. You get into a room with this person, talk about experience with team members, processing, getting and everything. And I talked about it a little bit. This is one of the things that we do in the organization. And actually, my own team, I had the experience to do it right after the last day of operation. Having to look, talk about service, about, some people thought that there is nothing from the PTSD perspective. And suddenly people started saying, no, okay, my wife got birth, I was in the suddenly it came to me while I'm in the room. I had to go out and suddenly I felt. Someone said, now with rockets, we're under attack sometimes. It's part of the country, it's a preparation, but when you are at home, different. So suddenly the feeling started to get bad. And so this is one of the things we do. We have meetings after the military service, and we have 8 days workshops with the whole team that we send abroad to sit with psychologists, mountains, no phones, no family members, friends, only them across the. Again, as I said in the news, it's a big exposure because again you always get into a crisis. But try to
Thank you. We will continue the question and answers during the mid-building, drink. So
just one thing. Yeah, you want to say something? So thank you for asking. First of all, you have it here, and you have it on the brochure at the entrance. You can scan it. You can every dollar counts. If you want 1 or 1,000 or whatever you feel like, be very helpful. And we have our annual event virtually in 2 months, so you can register as well. Wish you more other. Thank you.
Yeah. Come over. You're great.
Well,